So we're gonna carry on doing what we do, and we're gonna carry on improving. We're gonna carry on making ourselves better, and most importantly, we gotta carry on enjoying the life that we have. We built this life together. We have everything we have. All the dreams that we've managed to achieve to get to this point is still there for us to go back home to enjoy. And we've built this life, and I'm just glad that now that the shows are over for me for this year, I can go home and enjoy some time with my family and my wife, man, and really enjoy that and actually take it all in, what's happened the last few months, and take some time off and appreciate that. So for me, I'm sorry for them to hold on to these things and hold on to negativity and get down about it. I don't stay down for that long, man. I'm just not that kind of guy. I'm sorry, but some people might be very disappointed and feel very hurt by this, but I got too much good things going for me, so I can't. So I'm just really appreciative for where I am, and I'm looking forward to the next journey, man. And as usual, I'm gonna get better, and we're gonna come back stronger as we always do. So, guys, man, thank you, guys. Thank you very much, and always, me. I'm gonna keep updating you every single step of my journey as we go through it, always. So let's get it.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, a series of physique updates from Nick Walker. Starting with this back lat spread that he posted today, we also got a side chest and a most muscular over the past couple days. We would be right around the 10-week out mark right now from the Pittsburgh Pro. Now, in addition to these physique updates, there's also been some back and forth between Nick and Bob Ciccarello. Bob on the Cutler cast, I think right before the Olympia, was talking about Nick and saying he has no chance of winning the Olympia. Nick fired back on Fuad's podcast, and then Nick also said his prediction for the Olympia this year is that he will crack the top 3 if he's at his best again. And obviously, first, before we talk about Nick at the Olympia, we've got to see what happens in Pittsburgh, because Nick does have to requalify. As of right now, he's not qualified for the Olympia. That's his goal with Pittsburgh. He has said he wants that to be the only show that he does, qualify for the Olympia, and then focus on that. Now, we'll see if that's what happens. Obviously, he's going to have to go through guys like Martin Fitzwater and Good Vito in Pittsburgh, and I think that's going to be a very exciting show. And it seems like at this point it would be hard to top the excitement that we got this weekend at the Arnold. But these shows coming up, we're going to have some banger lineups in New York, in Pittsburgh, the Arnold Brazil, the Detroit Pro. There's a lot of stuff coming up in just a few weeks, a few months. But to me, that's really the next big one on the horizon, is the Pittsburgh Pro, where we're finally going to get to see what Nick is looking like. And, based on these updates, what we've been seeing from Nick lately, I think one thing that we can glean from that is that he's confident. He's been posting a lot more frequently updates than he was, when he was with Matt Jansen. He wasn't really posting updates this far out in the prep for a show this frequently. So he's certainly back to posting at a pretty good beat here. And he looks in the updates to be back on track. And I think if you couple that with what we saw this past weekend at the Arnold with Derek Lunsford, one of the questions that I was most excited to see answered was when a bodybuilder like that, an elite level guy like Derek, has been with a coach for a long time, changes up his coach, is he able to beat the look that he had with a coach that he had such a long-standing relationship with? And Derek obviously was able to do that. Now, Nick is also an elite high-level bodybuilder. He changed up coaches from his longtime coach, Matt Jansen. He had some success with Matt. And now we've learned, just recently, that it can happen. You can come in better than the coach that you were with for a long time, even as a top-level bodybuilder. So I think just seeing that, even though obviously Derek's situation and Derek's coaching is a completely separate situation from Nick, I think just Derek proving that it's possible in a big way, beating the reigning Mr. Olympia at the Arnold Classic, is a pretty big success. But seeing that recently, I think, kind of reignites some confidence in Nick, and I think confidence from the fans towards Nick that he can come back and do it. Because there's a lot of conversation. Honestly, after the Olympia where Derek took third, there's a lot of people saying Derek's done. And obviously there's been a lot of that conversation about Nick missing these last 2 Olympias. There's been a lot of conversation about Nick being done. And granted, Derek didn't have any serious injuries like Nick did. So, again, they're two very different, separate situations. But I think it is a little bit of a proof positive of what Nick could possibly do. And my question for you guys is, when Nick says he'll be in the top 3 at the Olympia this year, assuming he qualifies, which I think he probably will. Whether or not it's at the Pittsburgh Pro remains to be seen. It could be a different show. If he doesn't win that, he could just keep competing. But I guess my question for you guys is, A, do you think that Nick will be in the top 3 at this year's Olympia? And if he is, who do you think the other 2 guys will be? Will it be Derek and Samson? Will it be Samson and Hadi? Could it be Hadi and Derek? And how do you see Nick faring against those guys? I mean, based on the fact that, what we just saw from Samson and Derek at the Arnold, we've got a pretty good idea of what they're looking like recently. How do you think Nick would do against those physiques? Because he kind of said in that video where he was talking about his Olympia predictions that he was basing it off how these guys just looked in Columbus. So how would you guys have that shaking out? Now, next up in the news, I wanted to also add, I saw this post from Hadi Chupin today, and I wasn't entirely sure what the caption meant, but he confirmed that this was a recent update taken today on March 5th, 2025. Maybe by the time you're watching this, it'll be March 6th, but taken today, March 5th, 2025. And he says, "Today I was happier than ever because today I saw people who were more jealous, so I'm sure my path is right. Let's go, brother. There's no time to look around." And he tagged Hani Rambod in this post. So I'm not entirely sure why Hadi didn't do the Arnold this year. I've heard speculation that it was because he wasn't able to get the visa in time and he knew he wasn't going to be able to get that visa. And I'm also not entirely convinced that Hani won't continue to coach Hadi for the Olympia this year. But I was looking at this update, and he's training chest here. He looks good. He's posing a little bit, and obviously it's recent. I wanted to pose the question, if Hadi had done the Arnold Classic this weekend, do you think he would have won? Now, obviously, in this update, he's not in contest shape. He obviously wasn't prepping for this, but he's still really lean year-round. He maintains a really good physique. And I forget who I heard saying this, but I was watching some podcast where they made the point, and I thought it was a good point, that Hadi year-round trains crazy. He doesn't really cycle off. He's always in good shape. He's always on top of his diet. There's really no reason why he couldn't have jumped in this show and done well, with the exception of the visa thing that he's struggled with for years. And I think that probably is the reason. But I think it is a really interesting topic to discuss because Samson was off at this Arnold. And I think that is one of the big reasons why he lost. And obviously Derek was very, very on, better than the Olympia. Great package for Derek. But again, I think one of the big reasons that Samson lost was, especially during prejudging, the way that he faded in those call-outs. And Hadi was actually ahead of Derek at the Olympia. He was second to Samson and battling much closer to Samson. And you can almost assume, almost know, that Hadi would have been peeled here. He would have been in shape. Could Hadi have won this show had Hadi been in it? Now, obviously, not really a whole lot of point in speculating because he wasn't here. You got to play to win. You got to be there. You got to compete. But when we go into the Olympia this year, I'm sure that now after this Arnold, there's going to be a lot of talk of maybe Derek is going to win again. Maybe Samson's not going to be able to defend his title. I'm sure that's going to be a lot of the discussion, but one of the first things that I thought about when I saw this update from Hadi was, if Hadi had been there, would Hadi have won? And maybe at the Olympia, there's a good case to be made. I mean, again, kind of assuming he's going to be able to get to the Olympia. Maybe he'll have the same visa issue again, and we don't really know who he's going to work with, if Hani will still coach him, even though Hani said he's officially retired. I don't know that I fully buy into that idea, but who knows? I think there's a good conversation to be made for, if Samson is off at the Olympia, could Hadi win it again? And if Hadi had done the Arnold, could he have won? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, speaking of comebacks, and speaking of the Pittsburgh Pro, this latest physique update that we got from Terrence Ruff Diesel just in the past 24 hours, Terrence looks incredibly impressive in this update. And I think anybody doubting the ability of Terrence to have a successful comeback, I think they're tripping. I think Terrence looks great here, and I think he's going to come back better than ever. This is kind of a reminder, I think, to a lot of people. I mean, this physique update had 50,000 likes on it, so I think it kind of served its purpose as a reminder to a lot of people. Terrence is still here. Yes, he took some time off, but look at this physique. Terrence never left, and I think at the Pittsburgh Pro, he's going to prove that and quickly qualify for the Olympia. And again, with classic physique, I think there's a good discussion to be made, or a good discussion to have, about who is going to be the next guy in the absence of Chris Bumstead. Now, Mike Sommerfeld proved at the Arnold Classic this weekend that he's kind of here to stay. He was second to Chris at the Olympia. He won the Arnold and beat an amazing version of Logan Franklin, the best Logan I think we've ever seen, and also, of course, beating the defending champion Wesley Vissers, a really good Matt Grego, Michael DeBoule. It was a very impressive Arnold Classic physique lineup, even though it lacked, Urs Kalsinski, Ramon Dino, Terrence Ruffin, the guys that we're used to seeing there. So Mike kind of has established that he's here to stay, and Mike is one of the kind of shorter physiques in open bodybuilding. And we kind of talked about how the Arnold could be a show that sets the tone for 2025 of what the judges are looking for from a classic physique champion. Now that Chris Bumstead is gone, and Chris was the standard, he was the guy setting that tone. Now that he's gone, I feel like this Arnold has kind of established that Mike kind of is the guy right now. Shorter, more compact, and he beat some tall guys at this Arnold that looked incredible, including Logan Franklin, including Wesley Vissers. I wouldn't say incredible for Wesley, but in Logan's case, a taller guy that looked incredible. Matt Grego, also a taller guy. Now, it could also mean that it's setting the tone for a more muscular physique to win the classic physique division, because Mike Sommerfeld, a lot of people were saying kind of looks like a 212 bodybuilder, or even could potentially go to open. He's got a lot of muscle mass, so that also could have been the message that the judges were sending, and not necessarily just a short versus tall thing, but classic physique is so subjective, it's kind of hard to say. But I think in Terrence's case, it's probably a good thing if Mike Sommerfeld winning was setting the tone for what they're looking for in classic, because Terrence is a shorter guy. I think a lot of people maybe felt like Chris's physique would be replaced with another, kind of taller, imposing, big stage presence type of physique, like a guy like Logan has, or Wesley even has. But I do think if Mike Sommerfeld winning the Arnold set any kind of tone, the tone it set was probably a good one for Terrence. And I also wanted to talk about, Terrence posted a story that I thought was kind of interesting. I wanted to read it to you here. So Terrence said, "For my classic guys, I remember the same thing. Arnold giving $6,000 my first year versus $50,000 the following year. With viewership at the Arnold and Olympia being virtually the same for classic and the open now, guys in the top 10 or up upcoming superstars support the shows that are supporting us. I have 4 shows planned this year, all of which demonstrating that they value what the classic brings to the stage." And then he finishes off with, "I learned from Dexter Jackson that what you do when you're at this level not only affects you, but all who come after." So I'm assuming, obviously, one of the shows is going to be Pittsburgh. I'm assuming, obviously, one of them is going to be Olympia. He doesn't detail what other shows would be in between that, but he says he wants to do shows that value classic physique. And I was also wondering if it means that maybe he's saying next year he's going to do the Arnold Classic as well, because I think this was a complimentary post to the Arnold, because I think they clearly value the classic physique division. But I really do think, based on this physique update, based on this post, that Terrence is going to be active in 2025, 4 shows. And honestly, Terrence in any given lineup, I feel like he's probably there's a good chance he wins 3 of the 4 if one is the Olympia. And then whether or not he wins the Olympia, of course, is really hard to say. But if Terrence does do 3 shows outside of the Olympia, I would think he'd probably win all 3. But it brings me to another thing that I wanted to talk about here, and that was Chris Bumstead's story that he posted during the Arnold Classic. And it kind of relates to what Terrence is saying here, I guess just kind of in a different way. So Chris put up a story that was a screenshot of the video of Mike Sommerfeld and Logan Franklin, and he says, "I'm going to say it, classic more exciting than open." So I think that's another interesting discussion to have, and Terrence kind of touched on that too with the viewership kind of being even now. And I've seen that too for a couple of years now. It seems the recaps, even that I do, of Classic and Open for the Olympia, for the Arnold, Classic gets just as many views, and in some cases more, than recaps on the Open. I mean, the Classic Physique division undeniably has grown in popularity like exponentially since the division was created. And I'm kind of curious what the reason you guys think that is for that. I mean, obviously, it's a more relatable division than open bodybuilding. The physiques are a little bit more attainable. I feel like at the amateur level, there's a lot more people competing and aspiring to compete in the Classic Physique division because, like I said, it's not as crazy as open. You don't have to be, 250 plus pounds. You don't have to be a big Rami. It's more about the aesthetics and conditioning and the lines and things that a lot of people could relate to and physiques that, the average guy would want to have. Even outside of the sport, outside of the NPC, outside of the IFBB, if you're just a regular Joe, you probably want to be a little bit more muscular, but you probably don't have any aspiration of looking like, Big Rami. But you might see a picture of a guy like Logan Franklin this weekend, for example. That's a guy that I feel like most guys, even outside of the sport, would want to look like. And so my question to you guys is, this has kind of been a conversation for a couple years too, but my question to you guys is, do you think Classic Physique is now more exciting than open bodybuilding? Because there's been this conversation for years that eventually Classic Physique will surpass open bodybuilding in popularity. And, during the course of those years, the conversation kind of was, well, men's open bodybuilding is always going to be the big draw because it's the freak show. You want to pay money to see something that you don't see every day. And to that point, you don't see a Samson Dauda. You don't see a Hadi Chupin. You don't see a big Rami. You don't see people like that walking around every day. But maybe a Classic Physique guy, you see somebody that size or in that kind of shape or with those kind of aesthetics, you could see that maybe at your local gym. You could see that maybe walking around somewhere. But you won't see a guy like Big Rami really just on a day-to-day basis. But does that even matter? And is that argument now kind of a moot point? And is that argument even true? That the freak show, the big guys, those will always be the ticket draws. Is that era already fading? Because these classic guys, not only are their physiques incredible, like what we saw from Logan and Mike Sommerfeld, and not even just them. Matt Grego looked great. Michael DeBull looked great. Wesley's got a crazy physique. I mean, all these guys, they look really good. And I think that not only are the physiques great and relatable, attainable, desirable physiques, but all these guys in classic seem to each have their own unique, massive following. Especially some of the guys from overseas, like Urs, for example, Wesley, for example. They've got like individual massive audiences of overseas audiences, not just United States people. And, Logan Franklin might have a majority United States fan base. Wesley Vissers might have a majority European fan base. Urs might have a majority German fan base, but all of them are huge, like millions of followers. You think about Wesley, for example, who got 5th at the Arnold this year. And you look at Akeem, who's one of the top placers in open. He's got like 250,000 followers on Instagram. Wesley has 1 million. William Bonac, who was in the top 5, he barely has 1 million. He doesn't have 1 million yet. And then you look at even, Sean Clarita. He's got like 600K. And he's won the Mr. Olympia in 212. Andrew Jacked, I mean, one of the biggest names in bodybuilding right now. 800K on Instagram. And he was 3rd place at the Arnold. So if you compare Wesley, who's the 5th place guy in classic physique at the Arnold, to even the top 3 open guys, he exceeds their following. Logan Franklin also has 1 million followers. Mike Sommerfeld, relatively new to the scene as far as being a top placer, he's got like 520K. So like, if you look at the numbers, not even just who's watching the classic physique show, but if you look at the numbers of the individual athletes' followings, the classic physique guys have been around a shorter amount of time, and they have bigger followings even in worse placing positions. Now, Samson and Derek in this lineup they actually both have 1.4 million followers each on Instagram, but they are the open Mr. Olympia champs. They've each won the Olympia, and Derek even won 212. But again, I just named 2 classic guys that were in this Arnold lineup that have over 1 million followers, and neither of them have ever won the Olympia. And this year, neither of them won the Arnold. So, like, from a numbers perspective, I'm starting to really see this argument that classic physique not only could surpass men's open bodybuilding, but it could actually be happening right now. And I don't know how you measure whether or not it has passed men's open, because men's open has this legacy, right? Men's open has been around forever. It's got this rich history, especially of, past Olympia champs, whatever. But how do you measure it? Is it these guys' followings? Is it their engagement? Is it the number of people watching the division comparison? I mean, I didn't even talk about Chris Bumstead in this conversation because it's almost an unfair comparison to any of these guys to have the following conversation. I mean, I just told you that Derek and Samson each had slightly over 1 million followers on Instagram. Samson easily being the most talked about open bodybuilder all year. Easily. 1.4 million. Chris has almost 26 million. Chris Bumstead on Instagram. Is that an indicator of the success of the division? Or maybe you look at the number of registrations. Like, on the amateur level, I'd be curious to know how many people are registering for NPC classic physique shows versus how many are registering for the bodybuilding class on the NPC level. Like, in an entire year, how many people are registering for classic? How many people are registering for bodybuilding? Sam Sulek, for example, I was kind of surprised to see him do classic physique. I heard that he was going to do it. I kind of didn't believe it because he gets so big. He even said he was 270 like 5 months ago. Cut down to 216 or 217 to make weight for classic physique. I kind of expected him to do open bodybuilding at the Arnold Amateur. Even he chose classic physique, and in that pursuit had to lose over 50 pounds. And him being like the most popular bodybuilding YouTuber, most popular bodybuilding influencer right now, and for him to pick classic physique, I think also says something about the popularity of that division, and I think Sam recognized that too. So, I mean, this is kind of a long-winded rant, kind of a long-winded discussion, but I am curious to hear what you guys think. Do you think classic physique will become the #1 division and surpass men's open bodybuilding, or do you think it already has? Or do you think that men's open will always be the #1 draw, will always be the top dog? Because when you look at some of these numbers, it does make you scratch your head a little bit and kind of wonder, is classic already there? And to be frank, if you're talking about numbers, Sam Sulek competing in amateur classic physique did more views than a lot of the videos about anything to do with the pros at the Arnold. And granted, it has the Sam Sulek name attached to it, but a big part of that was him competing in classic physique, which I think he did intentionally. I think he picked the Arnold Classic Amateur specifically for a reason, and I think he picked to do classic physique specifically for a reason because he sees the popularity of that division. And that's kind of another thing to consider with the star power of so many of these classic athletes. Just imagine, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm not jumping the gun on the Sam Sulek hype train. But just imagine Sam becomes a very active classic physique pro. Imagine how many views and how many eyeballs and how many tickets would be sold if Sam does, even if he just does the Arnold Classic as a pro in classic physique next year. Imagine how big that would make that show. But then even imagine if Sam wins a pro show and qualifies for the Olympia in classic physique. You can't tell me that the draw that would have would be almost unmatched with the exception of maybe Chris Bumstead. So I think there is like an element, there is something to be said about these influencers that have massive audiences, massive star power, picking classic physique, and they're bringing their following with them. And Sam's following is so big, that could be something that moves the needle in this conversation of could classic surpass open bodybuilding. And I really think it's going to be interesting to watch because I am kind of imagining if Sam just starts competing as a pro, like very actively, starts winning shows, and he's like really in depth involved in it, and he's constantly posting about it. He's making videos about his preps. He's making videos about the show. I genuinely think that'll be something that moves the needle in the direction of classic physique potentially being more popular than open. And I think another thing to think about, and again, I know this is getting a little bit long-winded, but as it pertains to the discussion of classic versus open, is classic seems to appeal to the younger audience, high schoolers, college kids, 25 to 35, that younger group. And I think a lot of the people that say open bodybuilding could never be replaced are kind of the older group, kind of like the 40 plus, 50 plus. But if classic is that division that's really capturing that younger demographic, then that does kind of make it seem like that's the future. And I would say, as far as my opinion goes, I was equally entertained by both. I genuinely was as entertained and as excited to see Logan Franklin and Mike Sommerfeld battle in classic physique as I was Derek and Samson. And Derek and Samson are both Mr. Olympia champs. But I was so impressed by how Logan looked, and I was so impressed by Mike, and I thought it was such a close battle, such an apples and oranges comparison. I didn't know who was going to win that. So I think the suspense of that, to me, was equally entertaining as men's open bodybuilding. I wouldn't say that one was bigger than the other, but I would still say at the end of the day, the men's open bodybuilding Arnold Classic, that result was obviously still the story of the week. I mean, Derek beating Samson, I think, definitely eclipsed anything that happened in classic physique at the Arnold. But to me, watching the top two comparisons, to me, they were equally entertaining. But as far as like the overall impact on the industry, the stories that came after, I think obviously Derek winning was kind of eclipsing everything, any other division. And I want to pivot back to open here because I kind of ranted, whatever, a little bit too long on classic. But Samson Dauda, I opened this video with kind of a message from Samson talking about, graciously and humbly, talking about the fact that he took second at the Arnold, how he was a little disappointed, but congratulating Derek and saying, he's going to take a break and kind of focus on the Olympia. So it sounds like you're not going to see Samson do what Samson typically does.
Guys, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you guys are doing well, man. Happy Sunday. And yes, yeah, man, what a weekend, what a weekend. The Arnold class is officially over. And yes, what a show. First and foremost, man, congratulations to the winner, Derek Lunsford, man. That's a hell of a battle. That's a hell of a showing. And that was a hell of a fucking show we put up yesterday. So first and foremost, got to get that out of the way. And guys, yes, so here we are. It's Sunday. Just finished with the Arnold Classic. And yeah, man, obviously, hey, there's no hiding the fact that you won't feel a bit disappointed, man, not winning the show. But you know what? My life is part of it, man. Me coming back from adversity and picking myself up after something like this is what I've always done. It's something we've done all our life. This exact same time last year, we were exactly in the same position. And you all know what I do, man. I go away, I work, I come back better. Time and time and time again. So this is no different. Well, you know what? Yeah, well, first and foremost, I want to say, man, for all you guys me through this journey, we came straight from the Olympia, straight into the Arnold. It was intense, it was hard, it took a lot out of us. And you know what, man, at this point, I'm happy to finally have a break and have a moment. But you guys have followed me and showed me support throughout it, man. I just want to say thank you guys very much, man. It's been absolutely amazing. We always have an amazing journey. We always go through this stuff time and time again. You guys are always there to support me and always use your support to fuel me through it. So, man, I always say, man, guys, always thank you. Thank you very, very much. And I'm always appreciative. And I've always appreciated the position I'm in because, like I said, this time last year, I never look at any of my setbacks, any of my defeat in shows because this is competition. It's bodybuilding. You can't win them all. I never look at them as setbacks. I just look at them like, look, there's your next challenge. Now, here we go. Rise above it once again. You don't focus on things that you don't have. You focus on things that you already have in your life. This is how you stay strong and keep moving forward. And from my side, I want to thank my wife. I want to thank my team. They have worked so goddamn hard this last few months. They have really pushed themselves. I mean, Mel has gone above and beyond, and just like a wife, she's always stood by my side through it all, and she'll carry on sticking by my side. I mean, hell, she's my wife. I ain't gonna divorce her because of a loss, am I? so we're gonna carry on doing what we do, and we're gonna carry on improving. We're gonna carry on making ourselves better, and most importantly, we gotta carry on enjoying the life that we have. We built this life together. We have everything we have. All the dreams that we've managed to achieve to get to this point is still there for us to go back home to enjoy. And we've built this life, and I'm just glad that now that the shows are over for me for this year, I can go home and enjoy some time with my family and my wife, man, and really enjoy that and actually take it all in, what's happened the last few months, and take some time off and appreciate that. So for me, I'm sorry for them to hold on to these things and hold on to negativity and get down about it. I don't stay down for that long, man. I just not that kind of guy. I'm sorry, but some people might be very disappointed and feel very hurt by this, but I've got too much good things going for me, so I can't. So I'm just really appreciative for where I am, and I'm looking forward to the next journey, man. And as usual, I'm gonna get better, and we're gonna come back stronger, as we always do. So, guys, man, thank you, thank you very much, and always, you know me, I'm gonna keep updating you every single step of my journey as we go through it, always. So let's get it.
He's been very active. He's done a lot of shows. You see him compete, a lot in between the Olympia, in between the Arnold, the Olympia and the Arnold. It looks like we're not going to see that this year based on that video that I played in the beginning of this video in that pre-roll. And he also put up this post, which I thought was, again, a really classy, really humble thing to do. And he said, when something you do and love has brought so much joy and happiness into your life, you do what you can to give it back, to help make it better regardless of what the cost is to yourself, to help make the pie big enough so that everyone can have a piece. When I started bodybuilding, the winner of a pro show was 10K, second was 4. When I was signing up for my first Arnold, the winner got 150. In 2022, they increased it to 200 because they had an awesome lineup. In 2023, a few weeks from the show, the Arnold put up the prize money from 200K to 300K because they wanted the top guys to compete to make the lineup better, and it worked. I realized a simple fact. The more the top bodybuilders in the world are seen, the more the sport grows and the prize money also grows. 4 years of doing every Arnold since 2022, it has gone up from 200K to 300K to $500,000. Now a pro show first place is 15K and second is 10K. Mr. Olympia is 600K and second is 250K. Bodybuilding is growing. And the more we at the top show up and give everyone a show, the more the sport grows, and all the pros can have a piece of it. As a top bodybuilder, this is what I understood was my responsibility, and if you show how well something is doing, the more people want to join in. This is how we grow bodybuilding. And I thought this was a fantastically put, very well said message from Samson Dauda. I thought the video that I played earlier was really well said. I thought this post was really well written. And I think Samson is a great ambassador for bodybuilding. I think a lot of people are excited to see the rematch at the Olympia between Derek and Samson. Samson is still the defending Olympia champ. Just because he lost the Arnold, it doesn't still make him the incumbent champion. Someone will have to knock him out at the Olympia to take that from him if they intend to, which all of them are trying to. But I think that Samson, throughout his career, has done a really good job of being a figurehead for what he's talking about in that post. The fact that he competes as often as he does. The fact that he has won more prize money in a single calendar year than I believe any bodybuilder in history. And had he won the Arnold, and maybe even with the second place prize money at the Arnold, I think he still holds the record of prize money won for 2 back-to-back shows. 600 at the Olympia. And I believe second place at the Arnold is still like $200,000. And then he also got the $10,000 Most Muscular Award. I still think, $800,000 back-to-back shows. That's pretty tough to beat. That's a lot of prize money. And he's served as a good figurehead for being a guy that competes often and wins a lot of prize money and shows. I bet, I'm sure he's got crazy sponsorship deals, but I bet that right now, he makes more money from prize money, winning shows, placing at shows, than he makes per year from his sponsorships. And there's not a lot of pro bodybuilders that can say that that's true. I mean, if he's making $800,000 a year in prize money, there's not very many supplement companies or clothing companies paying out, over $80,000 a month. So Samson is kind of leading that charge and, again, kind of moving the needle for what's possible for a pro bodybuilder. And I think, 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. I don't think maybe anybody 10 years ago, even whoever was winning the Olympia, I guess 10 years ago it would have been Phil. And I think 10 years ago it was 150 grand or maybe even less than that to win the Olympia. I would venture a guess that Phil was almost certainly making more from sponsorships than 150 grand. So Samson, he might be one of the first guys in history that's making way more money in just prize money than from endorsements, brand deals, and supplement contracts. I would say from a lot of the pros that I've talked to, on the high end, top guys, well-known guys, a very good contract would be more than $100,000 a year from a sponsor. A very good contract. That's like typically the high end of being a pro bodybuilder getting sponsored. And maybe only like the top 2, 3, 4 guys at the Olympia are getting more than that substantially. And then I know guys, like if I said their name right now, you would know who I'm talking about. Like they're well-known, currently competing pro bodybuilders that are more like in the $1,000 a month range from their main sponsor. So the point is, the kind of money that Samson is bringing in just from winning shows and, placing second at a show, it's definitely an inspiration to all the guys that are kind of working their way up beneath him right now of what's possible, and he's kind of the guy. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, this video is getting kind of long, so you guys got back-to-back half an hour long-winded rant videos, but I kind of enjoy making them. And you guys seem to respond positively to it. So if you made it this long in the video, make sure you leave me a like. Let me know you enjoyed it and watched it all the way through. And as always, man, I'm very grateful for you guys. I'm really appreciative of you guys, and I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.